I kind of like just a natural beginning. We're not perfect.
That's fair. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Biophilia.
Here we go.
Today, I'm excited because Haley has been talking about this mysterious animal that I have no idea what it is, for the last, 24 hours?
Yeah, more or less.
And it's been on my mind, so I'll let Haley take it away.
Okay, I'm so excited, you guys. This is like the craziest thing. And Chris doesn't even know. Okay, so I was in the field last week and I was out Central Valley area.
Central Valley of what?
Like,
California?
yeah, California.
Well, the viewers. Central Valley is just a wasteland out there.
Like kind of like Lancaster area, if
Okay.
anybody's familiar with that.
I've heard of that.
Super nothing out there. Okay, but it was a beautiful spot that I was at, just hiking around. Well, for work, but hiking
Yeah.
around. And I look up and I'm like, no freaking way. And I'm with another bio and I was like, is that what I think it is? And they were like, well, what do you think it is? And then I was like, I think it's a California condor.
Ooh, those are cool.
And I was like, there's no way though, because they're so rare, so endangered. I was like, I must be crazy. I must be crazy.
You know
But
where
I
they
was
have
like,
those?
where?
The Pinnacles National Park.
Yes. And we went to college right next to Pinnacles.
Yes.
So
Well, somewhere near. Yeah.
near. Anyways, so I look up, I'm like, no way, no way. And then I see one, and then I see two,
Were they tagged?
and then I see three, four. And I was like, oh my gosh. And anyways, so there was three adults, one juvenile.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't see the tag because they were so far up on the mountainside, but you can see.
They're
I'll
fucking
get
wings.
into they're huge.
Huge.
They're huge.
Huge
birds.
animals.
I was like, no freaking way. It was so crazy. The other guy was like, yeah, that's a California condor. I was like, whoa. And then I would like dance around and they were just hanging out. I got to observe them for probably 20 minutes straight. They
That's
were
pretty
just
cool.
circling, doing their thing. And I got such a good view and I was so excited, like so excited. I couldn't even tell you. So anyways, I thought that was a sign for this week to do California condor as my species of the week.
It's valid.
Mm-hmm. So, let's get into what they look like if you've never seen a condor before or even heard of them. So,
They're a bird, first of all.
bird.
Yeah.
True. They're a bird up in the sky. And the wingspan is up to 9.5 feet, which makes it the largest of any North American land bird. So,
Wow.
yeah, when you're saying huge, it's huge. That
Yeah.
wingspan, think of a 9.5 foot tall person. Like,
Those don't exist.
doesn't exist, but it would be huge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's huge.
I think another way to think about it is like a ceiling of a roof from like the ground to
Yeah.
the ceiling.
If that bird had its whole wingspan expanded standing in front of you, you'd be like, oh, holy shit.
I'm going to die. It's a pterodactyl.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what sort of prehistoric bird?
Ugly as shit.
They're really ugly. And you know what? I'm going to get into this later, but I will tell you right now that you would think that they're related to vultures,
I was going to say, are they
but
like
they're
vultures?
not.
Oh, interesting.
They developed it in a completely separate lineage.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but they look so similar. It's
They
like
do.
a ginormous vulture almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you're looking for, if you're going to look like at birds in the sky, it's this ginormous bird. It stands out because it's so huge. It flies in a little bit of a V, like with its wings kind of cocked back a little bit, just slightly. Because some eagles are almost completely straight out, their wings. But this is like a little bit back. You can see almost fingers, but it's like obviously feathers.
Yeah.
But you can see their lactal bones, their phalanges
Yeah.
out like that. And so, like, kind of like when you see a crow or a raven, you know how you can kind of see those like fingers. Not all birds have that, but yeah, you can see it on there. And then also what the most distinct feature is they have this white patch under their wing, and it's so they're all black with the like color, like with the skin head.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the white underwing, like a white patch on either side of their underwing.
Oh, so it's like.
So it's pretty like definitive. You can look up and
How
be
big
like,
is the
yeah.
white patch?
I would say
Like you can see it in the sky. It's that big.
you can see it from afar. If
Okay.
you have binos, but it's not the whole wing. It's like almost like a circle. I want to say it's like maybe a fifth of their wing,
Okay.
but that's like a rough guess. Anyways, so they're thermal gliders, which is interesting, and they can soar for miles without flapping their wings. So thermal gliders, it means that they're counting on the hot air of like the wind. So, hot air rises. So they're counting on that to keep them afloat and can go so long like, and that alone keeps them up in altitude. Yeah.
That's
Thermal
super cool.
gliders. So they can
So
go
different,
super
like
low.
when like different heat currents and stuff is kind of what keeps them adrift.
Yeah, like I think just the rising of the heat in the altitude will just keep them from falling, and also that huge wingspan, and also the
How much do they
most,
weigh?
oh gosh, I don't know.
Oh, because I don't. I mean, they're.
But the body is really light in compared to the wings. Like the wings weigh more than their
Oh,
body
okay.
because they're so huge. The bird itself is like 18 to 30 pounds.
Oh, so not that big of a bird at all, like weight wise. I mean,
Not,
I guess I don't know how much an average bird weighs.
I think that is pretty heavy
Yeah.
because like their bones are hollow and they're so light
Hmm.
that I think that is pretty heavy, and they are on the beefier side of birds.
Yeah, 100%.
That's kind of what you're looking for. They're like flight style. Yeah, I would just say if you're looking, it's not the bird that's working hard. It's the bird that's soaring, looking like it's absolutely chilling, not making any sort of movement to like catch up to anything. It's just such a relaxed flight bird. Anyways, something else I was reading about when I was looking about this bird, they also pee on themselves to thermoregulate when in flight.
Huh. So
It's
how do
quite,
they? Is like their penis like pointed up towards them?
no, like down their legs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a way of thermoregulation that they have developed in like hotter climates. So that's something else that they do while they're peeing. So just
So
or
they
while they're
probably smell pretty
flying.
bad.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Because they
Well,
like,
because you know how goats do that, right?
no,
Goats pee on their forehead.
on their forehead,
Yeah, male goats pee on their forehead. It's like
on
a
each
dominance.
other's.
No, on their own. It's like a dominance thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but that's hilarious. Okay, so the lifespan of condors is usually about like 60 years in captivity.
Holy shit.
I know. For a bird, it's
Yeah, that's a long
crazy.
time.
It's crazy. And that but in the wild it's like 30 to 50 years. But that's
Still.
still so long for a bird. It's one of the longest living birds in the world.
Yeah,
In
I
the
mean
whole
that makes
world.
sense.
Yeah. So ways that they're dying. Okay, I'll get into like the history in a second. They have not many predators, no known predators, which
Are,
is
are
interesting.
they kind of like an apex predator?
I don't know. I don't think so because I would think an apex predator would be something that I mean their main food source is already dead carcasses.
Oh, so they're like,
So they're not like going after things
yeah,
trying to kill them. It's like they are the janitors of the world.
yeah. What's killing them though?
So, okay, so no known predators, but what's killing them is humans
Obviously,
mostly, yeah. The number one cause of death is lead poisoning because these
lead.
lead poisoning
Oh,
because these animals are feeding on these carcasses of like cows, mountain lions, whatever, like
hmm.
roadkill, but a lot of it is shot. So with
Oh,
lead bullets by hunters, and then these birds will go and eat the carcasses and ingest the lead and then get lead poisoning.
that's so bizarre. That's I never thought about it
And
like
it
that.
killed off so much of the population. That's the number one way that they die. And then another thing is that they,
They get hit by planes or something.
no, but the other ways are like young condors hiding with power lines is another thing. Oh,
Mm.
what I was gonna say, obviously, duh, is just like urban development.
Oh,
So
that makes
like
sense.
not
Yeah,
as much nesting availability and material availability, and development has just like really narrowed down their habitat. So that's one way. And then yeah, I was gonna say young condors crash into power lines, I guess a lot
that's
is a
wild.
problem for them. So the actually I'll get into this later, but in captivity, they're training these condors that they're raising in captivity to be able to avoid these power lines because I guess it's such a big
It's
issue
like that being an issue that they actually have to
that
train them.
that they're training them in captivity. So once they release them into the wild, they don't just kill themselves on the power lines. So that's pretty crazy.
Oh, is
What?
it because of how they're sitting on the power lines? Not because of
No, running into them.
okay, because I know birds have developed a way to where they know not to touch both wires at the same time. If they do, that's how they die.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Interesting. I didn't know about that.
yeah. They
And
all
then
stand on one thing. They
And
stand
then
on one line.
lastly, in the death thing is avian illness, but that's honestly really uncommon for this species and hasn't really hit them hard. But yeah, most is human related. Be better, people. Oh, also micro trash ingestion. That's
Yeah,
obviously
just
always an
more
issue for
human stuff.
birds and I think every animal is
Yeah,
like micro trash ingestion is huge. Something else interesting is condors don't build typical nests. They actually nest in caves and cliffs and ledges. But what's interesting is that these are so multi-generational and they're reused that they can be hundreds of years old and the next generation will use it again and again and again. So you can, if you find a condor nest, you can like almost guarantee that the next year that they're going to be there again and again and again. It's hundreds of years, which is crazy for any bird species.
You love all these multi-generational species.
I know, right? I'm like, what is going on? No, but it's so interesting because it's like almost human nature too.
Yeah.
It's like your family home and then it's passed down and it's passed down, it's passed down. It's interesting how that's like a through line of all species almost.
I wonder if the new birds have like it's hard for them to like find places to nest and stuff. Like us youngins trying to buy a house nowadays, we're just kind of fucked at the market.
Yeah. Hopefully our parents give us a house.
Exactly.
Like the condors. Come on, please. On a beautiful cliff somewhere in Santa Cruz. Please.
You know that rent's gonna be high.
Yeah. Oh, but what I was saying earlier, so when I saw them, I saw three that were distinct condors, and then the third one, I was like, it looks huge, but I was like, I don't see the white underwing patch, and I was like, what is that? What is that? But it wasn't a hawk, it wasn't a raven. Anyways, after further research, I figured out it was a juvenile condor because they actually develop the white underwing patches later in life. So if you see something that looks like condor adjacent, but maybe it's a little off and it doesn't have that yet, it might be a juvenile.
Do both male and females get the white patches?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Going back to their morphologies, the head and the neck, so it has that like bald, wrinkled skin.
Like chicken. Like you know what I mean? Like a chicken, like a little guzzle.
No, like a vulture. Think vulture head.
Or vulture guzzle, where it looks
No,
like
not guzzle. Look at the whole head.
I know, but I'm saying like that's what it's like. The texture looks like.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like that. It looks like that, but it's all over their head.
Yeah.
I see where you're going. It actually changes color. So that's something I didn't know, and that's really interesting because I think of like vultures, I think red and kind of pinkish.
Yeah.
And it always kind of stays that color. But for condors, it's actually a huge communication process is the head changing colors.
Huh.
So it depends on their mood and their social
On their mood?
Yeah.
They got mood rings on their head?
Yes, it's like a chameleon.
What?
It's like a chameleon, but for a freaking condor.
Is it due to blood circulation that it changes color?
Yes.
Wow, look at me.
So it could be pink, orange, red, yellow, dark, like it has a range.
That's cool.
Which is really interesting. So pink, red, orange is going to be excitement or courtship or aggression. And then yellowish is more relaxed or neutral. And then like a dark, dull color is more immaturity, so younger condors.
So as they get older, the colors get more vibrant.
They get more vibrant and depending, like if you're going to go mate, you're going to be like red. Like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And then if you're like yellow, like less blood flow, then you're going to be, everybody knows that's how it goes. So, anyways, okay, and their heads are like that in the first place, like that skin guzzly vibe, because it's an adaptation because they feed on carcasses exclusively almost for bacteria to not get trapped in their heads because they're like, sticking their heads in these dead animals,
So it's not very porous.
I don't know if it's porous, but I'm just thinking like
it's just thicker material.
It's thicker and there's no feathers for your
to get stuck onto.
to get like trapped in and then like eat away at your skin and like
that makes sense.
Because if there's something rotting in there, you don't want that trapped to you. So the development is that they avoid rotting their own head by getting rid of those feathers on their head, and then it also acts as a way to allow for more sun exposure on their head because apparently the sun helps kill the bacteria from the carcasses on their head when they're flying.
Oh, that makes sense.
So by exposing their head to the sun more without the feathers, they can kill more bacteria that way.
So what is their stomach like though? Because they're eating all these dead carcasses. Do they have like really strong enzymes?
Oh my God, they have to. I don't think it's like that crazy in the animal kingdom. Because if you think about it, like a lion will kill a deer. And then like, the lion and its whole tribe or whatever will eat the deer. But then comes the hyenas and then comes like other birds and then
the scavengers.
Like, smaller. So I don't think it's that crazy. And I don't think it's
They probably have good gut bacteria.
Oh, they got to. And a lot of protection against, I don't know, bad shit that those carcasses have. Or not, because I mean they keep dying from eating the carcasses and obviously haven't learned.
Yes.
But anyways, so reproduction. So like I was saying, if their head color will say something about their reproduction, if they're ready, if they're looking for a mate. And then there's no real performative dance or call like a lot of other birds will have. It's nothing like that. It's more about the color of their head and then like really subtle gestures in flight,
Hmm.
like a head nod. Like that's
So,
what. Yeah, it's like a what's up, and my head is red, and here we go. So that is pretty much the vibe of the mating displays. It's like super, super subtle and it's characterized by like a coordinated flight, I guess, and then physical closeness. And then once they both establish that they're down and then they get the physical closeness, then it's a long term bond.
oh, so they're
So,
monogamous?
not necessarily, but they do have a bonded partnership, I would say, with that other bird.
Okay.
But I don't think they're exclusively monogamous. I think it's a loose monogamy.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, something else interesting. So like I was saying, they don't have any like song or anything like a lot of other birds for mating. They actually have no vocal cords at all.
They don't make noises?
So essentially correct. So no vocal cords, which in a bird is so they lack a syrinx, which is the
Yeah.
bird equivalent of a larynx.
Oh, larynx.
They actually just don't have one. It really limits their ability to vocalize, but they can like hiss and grunt.
Can they like clack their beak?
Yes, and clack their beak, and they do that, and they make like a clattering sound. They exhale really loudly, like through their nose, and make a sound that way. And then obviously you can hear them when they're flying because their wings are so huge and whatever.
So
So,
you can actually just them gliding through the sky.
oh yeah,
It's
if
like,
it was gliding, oh yeah, you can hear it. You can totally hear it. Okay, so evolution and history of the species. Like I was saying earlier, they completely evolved separately than vultures, which is crazy because they look almost like a vulture's cousin. If you were to look at it, it's pretty wild that they have nothing to do with each other. They're one of the most ancient bird species in all of North America. They were around during the Ice Age.
oh wow.
Okay, so this is really interesting. They were around during the Ice Age, and when during this time they were popping off. They were everywhere. They were east to west, west to east, like across the country of North of, like of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
From Florida, California, New York, like all the way. And they've always fed on carcasses, but they had that megafauna of the Ice Age, like the mammoth and the saber-toothed tiger and the
Other giant animals. Wasn't there like giant sloths back then?
mastodon.
Yeah.
When the Ice Age happened, all those huge animals went extinct, right? And then they had nothing to feed on anymore because there was no large animals and that was their entire food source. So then the coastal populations started to get better because they could feed on ocean animals like whales and seals and all that still. But the land was pretty much depleted from the Ice Age. Then that's kind of how the population started to decline. And then we kind of are left with this like coastal demographic because that was what was available.
So is there another species over on the East Coast?
No, there's not. So they all came over here. I think it was mostly like a West Coast, but they could go across
Okay.
country and like it was all good because there was a lot of food availability and stuff. But no, so the only other condor species is the Andean condor, which is
Indian?
Andean,
Oh, Andean.
like in the Andes.
Yeah, in the Andes. Okay.
But anyways, and that one's slightly bigger.
What?
Yeah, and I think that might be one of like the biggest birds besides like the albatross or something.
What the fuck is an albatross?
You never heard of an albatross?
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna have to do that another day. So that's kind of interesting. So now they're on the coast and they're like kind of depleting. Then let's fast forward to 1987. So 1987, they don't have that much access to food. Populations are declining. Nobody really cares about the environment yet, like it's not as much activism as we have today. Like all this is going down. There's a lot of urban development, all that. So then now, 1987, we're left with only 27 condors in the whole world.
1987, 27.
2027.
Wow.
Yeah. And the activism and environmentalism and all this, like everybody's starting to be like, shit, they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we going to do? Because they're 27. Like, that's how you know you're down. You're
Oh,
down
yeah.
bad. Like, that's like you can count.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. So then people in conservation positions were like, what are we going to do? And then they made this crazy decision to capture all of them,
Wow.
to capture all of the remaining wild species and then put them all inside a captive breeding program and try to repopulate the condor species.
How did they trap them?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I can't even begin to imagine. And in the 1980s, like, come on, I bet you that was not very ethical.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. But so then, like, the Los Angeles Zoo and the San Diego Zoo led efforts to breed condors in captivity. And then by 1992, there was the first captive bred condors released into the wild. And now the biologists use like GPS tracking cameras to monitor the condors and their nests. And like I was saying before, the zoos do this like program to help condors, captive raised condors, avoid power lines so they
That's
don't
yeah.
they don't die right when they get released. And from 27 in 1987 to over 500 today, but only 300 flying free in the wild. So that's why it's so crazy
When you see them out there.
when you see them. And I saw four. Like, what are the odds?
So you saw like almost more than 1% of what's out there.
I don't know the percentage, but
Well,
yeah.
if you saw
Oh,
three,
yeah.
this is over 1% of all the condors out there. That's pretty cool.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And like most people just never see them because 300 is not a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I went to the pinnacles, I saw maybe two.
Yeah. And most people, even if they do see them, they don't know what they're looking for. So it's like, yeah, it's really interesting.
And
And
they basically hug the Central Valley. Is that their main habitat?
no, I would actually say it's more northern.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm about to get into this, but I have a friend that works with condors and she's up in like Humboldt area.
Oh, okay.
And that's like way up north. Now, this is something interesting. This has a whole nother side to the story, which I don't know how much other people care about this, but this was really interesting to me. Is it's a huge piece of Native American culture is the California condor, and it has so much like historical and cultural significance to Native American tribes of like especially coastal California. So, the California condor, it has a huge part in spiritual beliefs, in origin stories, in art, and material culture all throughout California tribes. So, for example, like Chumash, the Chumash tribe,
Mm-hmm.
they believe that it's a sacred messenger between earth and the spiritual world. And it appears in the Chumash creation stories of like how they're people. The Yurok tribe, it plays a role in their ceremonies and it's a figure that maintains balance in nature. So that's why it's like really important to these tribes. And when the decline was going down, they were like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
everybody wake up. This is a huge deal because it's
Mhm.
important to their culture and their belief systems and all that. And then like the Hopi tribe, it's an important spiritual figure, and they believe it contains powerful medicine, and it represents rain, purification, renewal. And then some other tribes across the country even will see them as a symbol of death and transformation, kind of because they eat this like these dead things,
But
but
they are the
then
life.
they're the life and they are providing for us. Like, because if you think about it, like these birds are eating, like, where would all this go?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise. And also,
Fungus, right?
they are protecting us from disease
That's true.
by like consuming these disease ridden bodies and whatever. So, even certain dances and ceremonies will mimic the condor's soaring motions, honoring its power and connection to the heavens. It's believed to be ancestral spirits with a connection to the heavens. And like I said, just a lot of art and rock sites will have condor paintings and stuff and like their stories and just cultural history. Now into like what's going on in the field right now. So like I was saying, one of my friends works with condors currently, and she works with the Yurok tribe up north. And they're doing really interesting work with the Condor Reintroduction Program. They're leading the reintroduction of condors to Northern California. So, and in collaboration with, well, it's led by the Yurok tribe and
Mm-hmm.
like indigenous people.
Want to give a shout out to your friend?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say. It's like California condors are like so protected
Oh, okay.
that it's like top secret business.
That's interesting.
Like I don't know. I think the FBI would go after somebody that's like involved with condors. I'm not sure. But anyways, so in 2008, the Yurok tribe formally launched their condor recovery efforts, making it the first indigenous-led condor reintroduction project in North America, which is really cool. And it's also one of the most successful examples of indigenous-led wildlife conservation. So shout out. That's super important, super important. And then it just goes to show like how indigenous knowledge can be so valuable in conservation because they've had such a big impact on the recovery of this species and it means so much. And I think that it's a voice definitely to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, they just have a lot more experience than we do.
Totally. And they have a connection unlike people of today. I
Yeah.
feel like they have like all of this history and all this appreciation, and they've seen it over centuries and centuries through stories and ancestors and all that. And I think they just have this vision that, is super valuable for conservation efforts.
100%.
Um, so super fun. If anybody wants to go look at condors, they have actually a live camera. If you go to urocktribe.org, they have a live camera on all of the condors that they feed, and they have food for them, but they're free and they come in and out, and you can see all the condors and they're all tagged, and you could be like, you can comment, and there's like a whole
Oh,
live
it's like a
stream of
live
like
stream.
people that are watching them, and they're like,
Yeah.
where's A7? I haven't seen A7 in a few days. And then like there's this whole community of people that super appreciate these birds and like are super interested in their well-being, and it's really fun and really interesting to just like watch if you have a free TV.
That's an interesting subculture right there.
No, it is, and the people are so invested. Like
Yeah.
I've been on it a few days now, and I'm like, wow, these people have been looking at this thing every day for months. It's pretty crazy.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Um, okay, well, I'm going to start wrapping up, but basically, overarching ideas is that it's a keystone species. By feeding on dead animals, condors reduce the spread of diseases. Without scavengers like condors, we'd see an imbalance in ecosystems, impacting other species, including humans, because, like I said, they are preventing a lot of harm to us by taking care of carcasses and diseases and other like byproducts of having just dead animals.
Yeah, like you were saying, they're kind of like the garbage man.
Yeah. And then where to see them? There's everywhere. Every major zoo in California, I think, has a few condors because they're the super protected species and they need a lot of captive breeding programs. So San Francisco Zoo, LA Zoo, San Diego Zoo, they all have condors if you need to go see one. And then also, I was recently in San Francisco, and the California Academy of Sciences has a really cool condor exhibit.
Wow.
They don't have any live condors there, but they do have a really cool informational exhibit, which I would really recommend visiting. It's really fun.
Let me guess. They got like a little picture on the wall, and it's like the wingspan. You go stand there,
Yes,
and you
they
try
did.
to.
And I
Yeah,
took it.
yeah, yeah. And I was
And
like,
I
that
did
sounds
take
about right.
it. Yes. And I have the picture to prove it. And I am not the size of a condor. So, yeah, it's an opportunity to learn about condors and their role in the ecosystem and how important they are to Native American tribes. And then lastly, I just want to say that we often talk about saving species, but maybe they're the ones saving us, reminding us that we are connected to this planet, that we have a responsibility, and that hope is still alive. Condors returned because people cared, and now it's up to us to make sure that they never disappear again.
Wow, that was very poetic right there.
Thank you. And with that, that's the end.
That was amazing. I learned a lot about the California condor. I've always heard of them, but never really got to understand what they are and their whole historical background and indigenous meanings and stuff like that. So that was very interesting to hear all the different aspects that they play into our life.
Thanks. Any questions?
No, I think I was just kind of firing them away at you during the podcast.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.